Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
If you're a serious hunter and you haven't tried Hex yet, this is the edge you're missing. Hunters have always talked about animals having a sixth sense, feeling you before they ever see you. Hex works by completely blocking your body's natural energy, helping you get closer without tipping them off. Most hunters don't believe it at first, until they hunt in it. And once they do, it makes them believers fast. Go to hexhunting.com, that's HECS hunting.com, and use code WAYPOINT to save $20 on a full Hex system.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Howdy, folks, and welcome back to the Hunting Stories Podcast, The Hunter's Brief, the 10 to 15-minute rundown of what matters in hunting, wildlife management, conservation, and public lands. This week, we have a lawsuit over Catalina Island's mule deer eradication plan, a Colorado bill that would ban recreational beaver take on public lands, an Arizona bill that would reclassify bears and mountain lions as predatory animals, plus a public lands fight in Southern California, a poaching case that wrapped with penalties, and a key federal animal health docket hunters should have on the radar. All right, guys, coffee's hot, boots on, let's get into it. Catalina Island lawsuit challenges mule deer eradication plan. A coalition of groups has filed suit challenging approval of a plan to eradicate mule deer on Santa Catalina Island, arguing the state's approval process didn't meet requirements and didn't adequately consider alternatives, specifically including regulated hunting as a management tool. Local politics are heating up, too. Los Angeles County Council publicly opposed the eradication plan, warning of safety and wildfire-related concerns. From the hunting side, you're seeing the familiar debate. Is eradication the only workable option, or is this a place where tightly controlled harvest could help manage numbers while honoring wildlife as a renewable resource? A key thing to watch will be what the court does early, injunction requests, timelines, and what documents get pulled into the record. If you care about hunting as legitimate wildlife management, this one's a flashing signal light. It's also a reminder that islands are a different ecological chessboard. Non-native populations, sensitive habitat, and very loud neighbors. Colorado HB 26-1323, that's a mouthful, is moving early into the session. As introduced, it prohibits taking beavers on public land for recreational purposes or commercial beaver fur trade, and points to wildfire resiliency as beavers' ecological role as the rationale. The pushback is predictable. Some trappers and sportsmen read this as part of a broader squeeze on hunting and trapping, while supporters frame it as protecting a keystone engineer that can restore wetlands and potentially reduce fire impacts in some landscapes. This is one of those bills where the details matter. What exceptions exist, how public land is defined, and whether management removals, damage, infrastructure conflicts, targeted restoration projects remain workable. This matters because beaver management sits at the intersection of habitat restoration, water, wildfire, and the future social license of trapping. Whatever side you're on, this will be a bellwether for how Colorado legislatures handle wildlife policy in the state where the temperature is already very high. Beavers, well, they're the only critter I know that can turn one tree into a dam, a pond, and a neighborhood argument without ever filing for a permit application. Arizona's HB 2158 is a definitional bill that has big downstream implications. It would expand the statutory definition of predatory animals to include bears, cougars, mountain lions. And in earlier versions, it actually included wolves, and they were in the mix as well. But a floor amendment explanation indicates wolves were removed. So right now, those species are typically managed as big game with seasons, tags, limits, and commission oversight. Critics argue that reclassification could weaken the structure of regulated management. Supporters argue it aligns predator control authorities and responds to conflicts. If you're trying to read this from 3,000 feet, right, it's another chapter in the long-running national tug-of-war between commission-led wildlife management and legislative rewrites of the rulebook. This matters because statutory definitions can shape everything, from take methods to funding streams to how future bills get drafted. Even when a bill doesn't directly rewrite seasons, it can set up the next move. Nothing says calm, science-based wildlife management like changing the definition section and pretending it's not a big deal. National public land policy, Congress, and protections debates intensify. A State Line report this week points to congressional Republicans pushing approaches that could alter public land protections in service of more development, like mining, oil, and gas, using some lesser-known procedural angles. This isn't a one bill changes everything moment. It's more like a steady grind of policy attempts that hunters should track because access and habitat quality are often the first dominoes. You can't hunt what you can't access, and you can't have strong herds without strong habitat. Public lands policy fights aren't over there. They're a future season issue. The only thing that moves faster than a mule deer at last light is a loophole when somebody discovers it. Poaching enforcement. A long investigation wraps with penalties. In Kentucky, outlets reported the conclusion of a poaching investigation that started back in 2025 and ended in convictions, penalties, all tied to unlawful wildlife take. Even when the details differ by state, the pattern is familiar. Citizen tips, long timelines, and finally, the hammer. For ethical hunters, again, these stories matter because poaching doesn't just steal animals, it erodes public trust and fuels bad policy. Strong enforcement protects the resource and the reputation of lawful hunters. Period. Game wardens have two superpowers, guys: patience and paperwork. Federal Animal Health CWD rulemaking docket open for comment. On the federal side, USDA APHIS has the control of chronic wasting disease item open on regulations.gov with a public comment window running into late March. If you've dealt with CWD rules, carcass transport, testing expectations, or movement of captive cervids, this kind of docket can shape the next round of how states and feds coordinate. CWD is still one of the biggest slow burn threats to deer and elk hunting long term. Processes, well, that matters here, right? And what gets written into federal framework tends to echo into state policy. You can ignore CWD paperwork, but CWD won't ignore your herd. That's it, guys, for the Hunter's Brief for the week of March 6th through the 13th, 2026. If you want, send me any bills, commission meetings, or local controversies that you're watching, and I'll fold them into next week's roundup. And don't forget that Monday we have the long-form storytelling episodes. If today's brief helped, share it with a buddy who still thinks public comment is something you leave on a Facebook post. Be safe, be ethical, and I'll see you on the next one.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.